to this day,
Mhm.
there has yet to be, a true indeed Black American, or what Dr. Claude Anderson would call a native Black American,
Mhm.
who was president of the United States or vice president. When you look at Barack Obama is, I believe, half Kenyan and half white, who
Mhm.
grew up the first half of his life in Indonesia, the second half of his life in Hawaii. But we celebrate him as the first Black president. Okay, that's fine. Now we come to Kamala Harris, who is half Jamaican
Mhm.
and half Indian, who spent, a portion of her first half of her childhood in Oakland. Then the rest of her childhood was spent in Canada. Does it mean something? Because to me, I believe that it would actually truly mean something for the United States of America to actually have a president of the United States whose lineage actually
Mhm.
comes from the plantation fields of America. What's your take on that? Do you think that that actually means something? Because to me, that means something. Someone who's actually a descendant of American slavery becoming
Yep.
president of the United States.
It means a great deal to me as well. So I concur with you and Dr. Claude Anderson in this regard. Um, that means that America has to have a reckoning that we are not yet ready to have. It means that America has to come to terms with a truth that they don't want to come to terms with. It means having real conversations about reparations that we're slowly advancing on, but not quite there yet. It's like Luther Vandross's curl back in the 80s. It ain't quite curling just yet. But we're making progress in that regard, Brother Tony. So I just think that these are conversations that America is really not yet ready to have. And my point is this: if we're not yet ready to have these conversations, then when do we get to a point where we can elect someone with, the lineage that you just laid out? Let me put it another way: if Barack Obama, even with all that you've laid out about his backstory that makes him different than a gut bucket Negro like me from Mississippi, uh, even with all you've laid out, if Barack Obama, with all that Harvard and Columbia pedigree and being half white and yada yada yada, with all of that, if that Negro had the phenotype of trying to think of somebody, Isaac Hayes or Rick Ross,
Mm-hmm.
even after the weight loss, and I ain't mad at you, Rick. If Barack Obama had the phenotype of Rick Ross, that Negro would never have been president. So it's not even just about lineage; it's about phenotype. America ain't ready for that. So
Mm.
Barack Obama, is a very different sort of presentation than Rick Ross or Isaac Hayes. Barack Obama is a very different presentation than Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson, handsome brother, sharp, eloquent. I hate white folk call us articulate, eloquent. Jesse Jackson was eloquent. And let me just pivot for a second. I like to remind people that there is no Barack Obama if there is no Jesse Jackson. When Jesse Jackson ran for president in 84 and 88, the Democratic Party, which you've asked me about a few times in this conversation, Democratic Party had a primary process, Brother Tony, where it was winner take all. Winner take all. So in a place like California, where I sit right now, if Hillary Clinton had won 60% of the vote and Obama won 40%, Hillary still took all the California delegates. Winner takes all. That was the way the Democratic Party did their primaries back in 84 and 88. Jesse Jackson did two things that we owe him a debt of gratitude for we can never repay. One, he forced Ron Brown in as the chairman of the Democratic Party. So we get our first Black Party chair in Ron Brown. But more important than that, with all due respect to the late, great Ron Brown, Jesse Jackson forced a rule change on primaries. And the rule was changed then, and it's been the same ever since. You get the proportion of delegates in every state in Democratic primaries for president that you won. So back to the analogy I offered, Obama would have taken 40% of those delegates. Hillary would have had 60%, and the game has changed. The only reason why Obama became the nominee and became president is because of that rule change. Go back and look at the map. The race between Hillary and Barack was so close in so many places that when you get to a point where you start tallying up the number of delegates each had from each state based on the number of votes they receive, it fundamentally changes the game. Go look at the math one more again. If the old rule had been in place of winner take all, Hillary would have been the nominee instead of Barack Obama, and he might never have become president. We owe a debt of gratitude to Jesse Jackson for changing that rule, forcing that change back in '88. And as I say, the rest is history and allows Barack Obama to make history. But they weren't ready for this gut bucket Negro from South Carolina named Jesse Jackson, who was telling us I was born in the slum, but the slum wasn't born in me. From the outhouse to the White House, hands that pick cotton will now pick a president. You know about Pennsylvania Avenue, but you don't know about Cheney Street. Oh, I know Jesse's lines, Brother Tony. I was there working with Jesse in '84 and '88, and those lines just keep coming back to me. My favorite Jesse Jackson line. Jesse said, "I'd rather have what he said. I'd rather have Roosevelt in a wheelchair than Reagan on a horse. I'd rather have Roosevelt in a wheelchair than Reagan on a horse." But they weren't ready for this gut bucket Negro named Jesse Louis Jackson from South Carolina. So yes, that lineage matters, but phenotype matters. All of this stuff matters. So we'll see down the road if and when America is ready for that. But would it make a difference? Absolutely. Absolutely. It'd be empowering in ways that I don't think we even understand.